Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the National Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. It's great to see everyone here and in person and online. Before we begin, I want to welcome everyone here. Please silence your phone and feel free to share any thoughts or moments that we're using right now here. It's now my pleasure to introduce Mr. James Albino, Executive Director of the Center of Minority Veterans. James Albino is Executive Director of the Department of Veterans Affairs Center for Minority Veterans and serves as the Principal Advisor to the VA Secretary on the adoption and implementation of policies and programs affecting veterans who are minority. Mr. Albino, a Navy veteran, previously served as a Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs at the Department of Veterans Affairs until January 2017. Mr. James Albino, the floor is yours.
Thank you for that, William. I too want to welcome everybody, particularly those folks who are on the West Coast. I know it's a little early out there, so have a cafecito and enjoy your breakfast as you participate in this event. We conduct these events annually. We conduct several of them, and there'll be two more throughout Hispanic Heritage Month. And what we plan on doing is being able to entertain you, provide you some entertaining insights about our Hispanic culture, but also provide you information about what it is that the Center for Minority Veterans does and what the VA does for veterans. That's important. This is part of our outreach and engagement effort, and so it's important that you get the information today. Enjoy the salsa lessons and the cuisine and the history and all that, but also at the end there'll be a call to action where you have the opportunity to scan a QR code and engage directly with us if you want to sign up for benefits or you want to find out where your claims are. So that's an important part. As a Navy veteran and a Hispanic myself, I've had an interesting journey to get here, and I really enjoy what I'm doing. This is not my first stint at the VA. I used to work, I was a Deputy Assistant Secretary for Intergovernmental Affairs, and between that office and this office, I had a lot of opportunity to engage with the community, and that's something that I enjoy very much. My personal journey is an serendipitous one in that throughout a number of twists and turns, there were people that somehow appreciated what I was doing for them or the work that I was doing, and that led me to another opportunity. I grew up in the South Bronx, and if you ask me too many years ago, maybe 50 years ago, if I ever envisioned seeing myself in this position, I would have said absolutely not. But through dedication and service to others, doors opened up for me that led me from that opportunity to work in the U.S. Secret Service as a file clerk. I think I was a GS3, and then from there I went into the Navy and then came and worked for the federal government, starting particularly in the White House, in the Office of National AIDS Policy with the first Obama administration. With that, I want to introduce a special counsel to the General Counsel here at the VA, Gabe Podesta. Gabe, excuse me, Gabe is a Navy veteran himself and was the former Chief of Staff, Deputy Chief of Staff at the Navy, and we're very happy to have him here supporting us here. Thank you, Gabe.
James, thank you so much. I do have to make a correction, however. I served in the Department of the Navy. However, I'm an Air Force veteran, and on today, the 78th birthday of the United States Air Force, please let me begin by saying fly, fight, win. Let's see, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce today's guest speaker, the Honorable Carlos Del Toro, the 78th Secretary of the Navy. Secretary Del Toro is responsible for over 1 million sailors, Marines, reservists, and civilian personnel in an annual budget exceeding $255 billion. To address the most pressing challenges confronting the United States Navy and Marine Corps, Secretary Del Toro has set 3 enduring priorities: strengthening maritime dominance, building a culture of warfighting excellence, and enhancing strategic partnerships. Born in Havana, Cuba, Secretary Del Toro immigrated to the United States with his family as refugees. He received an appointment to the United States Naval Academy and commissioned as a surface warfare officer upon his graduation. His 22-year naval career included a series of critical appointments and numerous tours of duty at sea. Among other notable and prestigious assignments, Secretary Del Toro was the first commanding officer of the guided missile destroyer, the USS Bulkley, and served across Lafayette Square from here at VA as a White House Fellow in the Office of Management and Budget. After retiring at the rank of commander, Secretary Del Toro founded SBG Technology Solutions Incorporated. He and his wife, Miss Betty Del Toro, successfully built and led that business until August of 2021, when Secretary Del Toro once again answered his nation's call and was sworn in as the 78th SecNav. So now that we've done the biographical information, let me share some personal thoughts from my experience working alongside Secretary Del Toro for 2.5 years in the Department of the Navy. Secretary Del Toro's passion is people. When I worked alongside him, every single day, he pushed us to find new and better ways to do right by our people. He was adamant that the Navy and the Marine Corps reflect the diverse talent of this country by recruiting throughout every community, including those historically forgotten and marginalized. With painstaking detail, he selected the very best uniformed and civilian leaders, ensuring that the Navy and the Marine Corps evaluate every candidate for promotion based on their ability, but also their potential to lead. And he elevated quality of life and service by ensuring that sailors and Marines had what they wanted, Wi-Fi, as well as what they needed, ready access to nutritious food. I'll say again, Secretary Del Toro's passion is people. He and Miss Betty treat me like a son, which I relish, even though they treat everyone they meet like family. Today, we at VA begin a months-long celebration of the tremendous accomplishments of Hispanic Americans, including over 36,000 Hispanic colleagues, a third of them veterans. We could not ask for a more fitting speaker, given this year's theme of pioneers of change, shaping the future together. Secretary Del Toro has been a pioneer of change his whole life and is working tirelessly now to shape the future of the Navy, the Marine Corps, and our country. And so it is with great pleasure and humility that I pause for time to make sure Secretary Del Toro is able to join us. I'm sorry? Okay.
Well, thank you very much. I'm just want to give you a heads up right now. The traffic is raining in Washington, D.C., so the traffic is a little bit hectic. So the secretary should be here in a few minutes in here. So for the time being, as we wait for the secretary to come over, I'm going to introduce, for the time being, it's an honor to introduce the Honorable Jaime Areizaga-Soto, Chairman of the Board of Veterans Appeals. He will speak to us about why this celebration and our stories matter. The Honorable Jaime Areizaga-Soto was nominated by President Joseph R. Biden, Jr. to serve as the chairman of the Board of Veterans Appeals on April 15, 2022, and was confirmed by the United States Senate on August 4, 2022. He leads a team of over 1,500 board personnel, including more than 130 veterans law judges, 1,100 attorneys, and 200 professional support staff. On behalf of the Secretary, the board fully considered and resolved all final decisions on veterans' appeals for benefits and services from the Department of Veterans Affairs. A citizen soldier and an Army judge advocate, Chairman Areizaga-Soto serves as a special assistant to the General Counsel of the National Guard Bureau. In August 2021, he was promoted to the rank of Brigadier General, making him the first Latino JAG General officer in the armed forces. He was mobilized from 2018 to 2021 as the Chief of Army Navy Guard Trial Defense Service, a 218-soldier strong formation across each of the 54 National Guards. In the civilian sector, the last two governors of Virginia appointed him as the Deputy Secretary of Veterans and Defense Affairs, where he advised Governors McAuliffe and Northam on the matters related to the 30 large DoD installations in Virginia and the Commonwealth, 700,000 veterans and their military families. Previously, he served as a senior attorney advisor at the USAID Office of the General Counsel. He also served as the White House Fellow assigned to the Treasury Department. Chairman Areizaga-Soto started his legal career in international law for 12 years with a large U.S. law firm, including 8 years in Brazil, focusing on cross-border infrastructure project finance. Originally from the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, Chairman Areizaga-Soto graduated from the School of Foreign Service of Georgetown University. He holds a law degree, Juris Doctor, and a Master in Latin American Studies from the Stanford University, a Master's in Security and Defense from the Inter-American Defense College, and a Magister from the National Academy of Political and Strategic Studies of Chile. As a matter of fact, Chile is celebrating their independence today. Señor Areizaga-Soto, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, William. Ooh. Hey, good morning, team. Great to be with you. By the way, you guys probably saw that Mr. Gabe Podesta introduced SecNav. SecNav is on the way, but hasn't arrived yet. We were trying to see if we could sync that. So basically, as a good baseball fan, I am pinch hitting here quickly as moving up on the top of the order from the second at bat to lead the way. I guess I'm lefty, so that helps. So I'll speak for a few minutes, and hopefully SecNav will join us by then. Hey. So I was asked to share some of my experiences and how our stories shape this important month. And the way I look at the motto of this year's Hispanic Heritage Month, Pioneers of Change, Shaping the Future Together. On the Pioneers of Change, I'll share with all of you here at the VA that as the U.S. is made up of 56 jurisdictions today, and understanding our history. In Spanish, we say, si no sabes de dónde vienes, no sabes a dónde vas. Where you come from, it's important to give you perspective as where you're headed. It's not determinative. But our community is very diverse in arrivals. If you're looking at St. Augustine, Florida, St. Augustine, or if you're looking at San Juan, Puerto Rico, our communities were settled, and our history goes from the encounter of the European with the Native Americans, and then the spectacular contribution of our Afro-Latino heritage predates what would be the arrival of the English at Jamestown and the settlement of Jamestown. But the diversity goes all across from our recent arrivals. You'll hear from SecNav. The family of SecNav are immigrants from Cuba as a result of the 1959 revolution. So many of the Cubans that came come post-revolution, although there was a very active interaction between Tampa, Ybor City, and Cuba that predates those dates. So just to share that the history of the community, it's very diverse. If you, I think 8 states in the Southwest, Colorado, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arizona, California, were part of Mexico before the war with Mexico and the annexation. And many of the families there have been there for centuries in those areas of the Southwest of the United States. On the other hand, as the Statue of Liberty reminds us constantly, many of our teammates have come as a result of developments that could be an earthquake, or could be political instability, or could be other situations. So many Central Americans, we're here in the DC area, and the DC area is home to a very large Salvadorian community. Many of them, that migration and that settlement in what is the United States today results from the internal civil wars that Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua had during the 1970s. But just to share that diversity, and I think as we talk about pioneers of change, I look at the innovation that so many of those have brought us, and the innovation that I see in the Latino community. And you'll hear from Sec Nav, who, after doing his 20 years career, as Mr. Podesta indicated, after his 20 years in the Navy, set up a company, and as a small, develop a very successful small business. I call that innovation. I think of the taco truck that I went to yesterday. All proud American residents today, and all giving us what basically were very authentic Mexican tacos de lengua, tacos de birria, tacos al pastor. And I look at that dedication, at that commitment of innovation that I see in the community. And to that, I will say that the community, it's a very young community, and but we see that reflection not only in our public education, but we see it in recruitment. So on the uniform side, Latinos not only reflect 20% of the overall population of the United States, at around 63 million, but the Latinos also reflected in the armed forces. So from 25% of the United States Marine Corps, which today is made up of Hispanic Americans, through the Army and the Navy, which are around 19%, to the Air Force, which is just a little bit below that. 20% of the population and 20% of our armed forces are made up of, as we shape the future together, of Latinos. And I think the way I like to say it is, the future of the Latino community and the future of the United States are the same. Latino issues are American issues, and the Latino future and is the American future. And on the other hand, the American future is the Latino future, as we see such a critical piece of our youth and of our current service members. And I think it sends us a message here at the VA too, because if you look at what will be our, who will be our clients, our customers, our patients, whether it's at VHA, at BBA, or at NCA, it will do that. So at the VA, as we serve those who have served us, I point out for all of us to be aware that whereas the current transitioning member or the current VHA, I'm thinking of the fact that my dad is getting ready to turn 91 this Friday, a Korean War veteran, and he uses the VHA hospital, the medical center in Puerto Rico, and I get that it's a very Latino focus in the sense that it's in Puerto Rico. But as we see in other installations of the VA, and as we all serve as VA employees, it will be a growing portion of our customers, and the people that we care is just out of the pure demographics and the facts of those that are serving today, that those numbers will continue to grow. And on that note, we at the VA need to ensure also that as we recruit talent, there's no doubt that many civil servants are coming, baby boomers are coming to that time of retiring, and as we recruit, that we are recruiting diverse and the best talent we can find. And I think that will very likely lead to that. And as we continue to provide our services, we need to be always as the Center for Minority Veterans does, those underserved communities, because we've done business in one way, it might be that we are not doing everything we can. So I'll wrap up by saying it is our duty as VA public servants to ensure equal access and equal treatment to all those that have served. And I want to commend Mr. James Albino and his team and the work they do to ensure that as we continue to provide more care and more benefits to more veterans than ever before, that we not only look at the quantity, but also at the equity, and that we are doing outreach and ensuring that veterans, no matter where they are in the 56 jurisdictions or even abroad, that we are providing the service that they have earned and that they deserve. So on that note, I will congratulate every Hispanic American at the VA, every Hispanic American veteran, and every supporter of our diverse community and of all our communities here at the VA and across the nation for what will be a month of celebrating that heritage of so many that have been pioneers of change because of our history, and that we're shaping the future together as we work, whether it's also all of us at the board, which today will break our goal for this year and set. Last year we did a record 103,000 decisions, and today everything leads to the fact that we'll reach over 111,000 decisions dispatched this year, or whether it is at the administrations or, as you will hear from the Honorable Carlos Del Toro over at the Department of the Navy. So on that note, I am glad to report that SECNAV is already here, and Gabe has done a spectacular introduction of the Secretary, including his personal experience working with him and his superb wife, Betty Del Toro, who is an outstanding advocate for military families and for veterans. And with that note, I will have the honor, together with Gabe here, of welcoming the Secretary of the Navy, Carlos Del Toro, to speak to you. Welcome, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Gabe. Sir. Great to see you, sir. Great seeing you. Good morning, everyone. First, my apologies for just being a couple of minutes late. I guess we had a previous engagement, and I guess it's fair to say that I'm very glad that the Pentagon is located in Arlington and not in downtown D.C. It was hell getting over the 14th Street Bridge this morning. But I am thrilled to be here, and obviously this is the last time that I show up late to speak behind the chairman, because I think he spoke so eloquently, and I did have a chance to hear all of his comments and give just an extraordinary overview of the Hispanic experience here in the United States, which truly has been miraculous. But let me first, again, say how grateful I am to be here, and to Gabe Podesta. Thank you, Gabe, for your leadership throughout your career in the Department of the Navy. You filled many positions, very critical positions, that had a very direct impact on the lives of our sailors, our Marines, our civilians in the Department of the Navy, and you really performed extraordinary. And I'm so pleased and honored to see you here now in the role that you're playing here at the Department of VA as you continue to advocate for these young men and women as they retire from the military now and serve as veterans throughout our nation. So there's not enough ways to say thank you to you and to your family as well. Mr. Chairman, thank you for being here today. Thank you for the very short introduction, but most importantly, thank you for your many, many years of service in the Army, in the state of Virginia and the Commonwealth of Virginia as well, too, where you were the Secretary of Veterans Affairs and represented our veterans very well there in that state, and certainly to what you're doing now on behalf of our veterans across the country. It's just so very important. I think in so many ways, both of your services really reflect not just a short-term service as part of a resume, but a lifelong commitment to service to your country and to service to the men and women who serve. And of course, Gabe, you served as a reservist as well, too, in the Air Force, so we're very proud of that. Could have been the Navy, but we're okay with the Air Force, too. So, according to your department statistics, there are roughly 1.3 million Hispanic American veterans, and that's really extraordinary in so many ways. Latino, as has been mentioned, is the fastest growing demographic in the military, making up about close to 19% of all active duty military. And what Jaime said here just recently about how in the Marine Corps, 1 out of every 4 Marines is Hispanic. It's truly extraordinary for me as a Hispanic Secretary of the Navy to recognize that. And they come from all different cultures and parts of the world, and we're so thrilled to have them in our Marine Corps, and likely close to 20% in the Navy as well too. Both men and women who are faithfully serving our Navy and Marine Corps, and that's just extraordinary. And it's important also to see ourselves reflected in our leaders. So we as an organization, I think, collectively also have to do a better job across the Department of Defense, ensuring that they also have the equal opportunity to continue to rise throughout the ranks as well, too, and rise and become officers and general officers and flag officers in our United States military and Navy. And that's something that we're committed to as well, too, because it is important to see ourselves reflected in our leaders. And because having successful role models who share our heritage empowers us to follow in their footsteps and even chart our own courses. Hispanic Americans have proudly served in our military since the nascent beginnings of our nation, since even before the Revolutionary War, and have served in every battle since. This nation was founded on the principles of selfless service to country. And I want to take a moment to thank the veterans who are in the room here today with us, but across the entire Department of VA enterprise across this nation who serve our veterans so proudly, Hispanic and otherwise, across this nation. I've had a long journey with the Department of VA. Obviously, as I was transitioning out of the military myself, I was the recipient of all the care that was necessary throughout that part of the transition. As a service-disabled veteran, I continued to receive care in the Department of VA at the many VA hospitals throughout the country, and I was very grateful for that too. And even in my private sector experiences, was explained earlier at SPG Technology Solutions, we served the VA because I felt a commitment to serve our veterans who had served in uniform. And I had 17 years where I was proud to be part of this institution in the private sector. Now to be able to come back as Secretary of the Navy and continue to work side by side with Secretary McDonough in support of our veterans across the nation is truly, truly a deep honor. And there's not enough ways to thank all the veterans in this room here today and all the veterans throughout the entire nation. So thank you for your service. I also want to take a moment to thank you for the service of your families, because without question, we wouldn't be successful in what we do if it wasn't for our families. And families sacrifice so much. Spouses, family members, children of veterans, and throughout their entire career. And it's just not enough ways to say thank you. Jaime mentioned my own wife, Betty, and my own 4 children. They were right by my side for the 26 years that my wife right by my side for the 26 years that I served in the Navy. I wouldn't have been able to do it without her. And today I'm very proud of the commitment that she shares in supporting our military service members in the Navy and across all military services. So thank you for that. Now, let me get to the business of the Navy and what we're currently doing today. Following the outbreak of the conflict between Israel and Hamas on October 7th, our sailors and Marines participated in Operation Prosperity Guardian in the Red Sea to deter further escalation and protect innocent commercial shipping against Iranian-aligned Houthi attacks. When our heroes, the Bataan Amphibious Readiness Group and the Eisenhower Carrier Group, returned from deployment, Betty and I were right there at the pier to meet those families, the families of these over 10,000 sailors who had been deployed, in some cases for more than 8 months, and have sacrificed so much in service to our country. We simply could just not do this job without them. And because of their support, our Navy and Marine Corps team serves as a powerful testament of our nation's commitment to our allies and partners all across the globe. All of those military families, and if you do not wear the uniform yourself, again, thank you on behalf of myself, on behalf of Secretary Austin, on behalf of all Americans. During this month, we celebrate the rich history, contributions, and service of Hispanic Americans across our nation, and it's important to do so. As I said before, Hispanic Americans have proudly served our nation since its very foundings, and the service of Hispanic Americans in our Navy and Marine Corps is especially notable. Navy Admiral David Glasgow Farragut. Sometimes he's known as Farragut, but his real name is Farragut, the Navy's first Hispanic American flag officer, and the first flag officer, period. He was our Navy's first 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, and 4-star admiral. Famously led the Union Navy to victory at the Battle of Mobile Bay. As the ships in his squadron fell back because of the risks of tethered mines, or torpedoes as they were called then, Admiral Farragut gave the immortal order, "Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead," which still serves as the motto certainly of myself and many other Hispanic Americans around the country. Another example, Sergeant Rafael Peralta, was a Mexican immigrant who became a U.S. citizen while serving in the United States Marine Corps. During the Second Battle of Fallujah, he sacrificed his life to save his teammates by shielding them from a grenade blast. USS Rafael Peralta, DDG-115, one of our Arleigh Burke destroyers, is currently patrolling the Indo-Pacific, a symbol of our naval power, abroad in tribute to Sergeant Peralta's bravery and sacrifice, one of our frontline ships, honored by the name of this great American. And Hispanic Americans at the helm of our Navy and Marine Corps today. This year, Trailblazer, Vice Admiral Yvette Davids, made history by becoming the first woman and Latina to serve as a superintendent of the United States Naval Academy, where she trains the future leaders of our Navy and our Marine Corps. And I am so proud of all our Latina service members, proud of all our women service members, quite frankly, who finally have been given the opportunity, after years of gaining the necessary experience, serving on frontline ships and combat ships, to be able to now compete for the very highest levels of the Navy and the Marine Corps. We're so very, very proud of them. Equally so, Sergeant Major Carlos Ruiz, a native of Sonora, Mexico, leads our Marines and sailors as the 20th Sergeant Major of the United States Marine Corps. Extraordinary, extraordinary Marine who really sets the pace for all of our Marine Corps, and we're so proud to have him. And even my own Chief of Staff, Chris Diaz, who previously worked for this department. He enlisted in the Navy as an aviation bosun's mate and deployed with the Harry S. Truman Carrier Strike Group. He later served at Fleet Marine Corps Hospital Corpsman and deployed with the 6th Marines to Marja and the Helmand province of Afghanistan. And like many of you in the audience today, my only and American story began outside of America in Havana in the 1960s. The Castro regime imprisoned my father, Raul Del Toro, for counter-revolutionary activities, and when I was 10 months old, my father was paroled while awaiting trial. During this time, our emergency visas into the United States came through miraculously, and with only what we could carry on our backs, we fled to this great country. And America greeted us warmly in Miami, Florida. Like thousands of other Cuban refugees, we called the Freedom Tower our first stop on the road to freedom, home, until we relocated to a tenement building on 42nd Street and 10th Avenue in Hell's Kitchen. And for those of you who know Hell's Kitchen where it is, obviously it's in New York City, but if you've seen the movie West Side Story, well, it's just like the movie West Side Story without the music and the dancing. So, and yes, growing up in Hell's Kitchen was truly extraordinary. Throughout my childhood, both of my parents sacrificed and labored for the sake of their children. They wanted to give us a better life, unattainable in Cuba, a life that's only possible in the United States of America. I watched as they both worked 2 jobs to support our family for most of their lives. And my parents' sacrifice instilled in me a desire to give back to this great nation, which took us in at a time when we were most vulnerable, obviously. In 1979, I left New York to attend the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, and began my career of service to this country in the Navy. My 22-year Navy career included serving as the first commanding officer of the guided missile destroyer, the USS Bulkley, of which I was very proud. And now I am proud to serve as the 2nd highest ranking Hispanic American in the administration and first Cuban American Secretary of the Navy. Service to our nation is engraved in the very fabric of this country and does not only mean wearing a uniform, by the way. And I'm here to make today actually a very special announcement. Service can also take the shape in championing causes to improve the lives of other Americans. And it's something that so many people in our community have done since the beginning of our founding of this nation. And I want to point out just one very special Latina today who we hope to honor here. Dolores Huerta has been a leading figure in the Hispanic community and a champion of civil and workers' rights now for over 70 years. In 1955, she co-founded the Stockton chapter of the Community Service Organization to promote voter registration and economic opportunity for the local Hispanic community. In 1962, Dolores co-founded the National Farm Workers Association, and throughout the 60s and 70s, she led labor strikes and national boycotts of products to improve the working and living standards of farm workers. She coined the motto of the farm worker labor movement, Si se puede, or yes, we can, for any in the audience who don't speak Spanish. Over the course of her career, she received numerous awards and accolades, including being inducted as the first Latina in the National Women's Hall of Fame in 1993. She received the Eleanor Roosevelt Human Rights Award in 1998 and the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2012. Dolores Huerta dedicated her life to caring for those voiceless and unrepresented individuals. She dedicated her life to actually taking care of people, which is so critical to our own community in the military services. The Department of the Navy instills in its leaders this same care for the sailors, the Marines, the civilian mariners, and the civilians, as does the Department of Veterans Affairs. And so today, I am honored to announce the next John Lewis class fleet replenishment oiler, and this class of oilers is named after civil rights leaders, extraordinary civil rights leaders in our nation's history, who have made a marked impact on our community. And when you consider all of the Hispanic Americans today who serve in the United States, many from backgrounds who actually worked in the agricultural industry, and when they first came to this country in the West and the South and other places throughout the country, it's such an extraordinary part of our experience. And so today, I am honored to announce that the next John Lewis class fleet replenishment oiler, TA-214, will be named the USNS Dolores Huerta. Hand of applause. This replenishment oiler has an integral role in our fleet and force, ensuring our ships' abilities to remain out to sea and to operate effectively worldwide. Dolores Huerta's work on behalf of marginalized community is truly an inspiration. The future ship bearing her name will inspire all who sail alongside her to live up to the standard that she set for all of us. In closing, I am proud of our sailors and Marines who represent everything that is great about our Department of the Navy and indeed our nation. It is the honor of a lifetime to serve the 1 million sailors, Marines, and DoD civilians as the 78th Secretary of the Navy. The strength of our nation is in our people, and we are a stronger, more capable armed forces as a nation because of our diverse background and experience. And only the United States of America and many other countries strive to set the standard that has been set here at the Department of VA and how we actually take care of our people. And this is something that all presidents have cared for deeply. In my own experience these past 3 years, President Biden, the entire administration has always been dedicated, Republican, Democrats across the Congress, taking care of veterans the way that they should be taken care of. And I'm so proud to be associated with the Department of the Navy and the Department of VA. And so I thank all of you for your dedication, your service, and your time here today as well. May God bless you, our service members, and our women stationed all around the world. Thank you for the tremendous opportunity to speak here to you today.
Secretary Del Toro, thank you very much for the kind words, and a pleasure to being here today.
Thank you.
And I appreciate being part of the Hispanic Heritage here. Me, myself, from Venezuela, so I'm pleased to be here. Also,
God bless you.
I was pleased to be honored by serving those who served us. So it's
Absolutely.
a great pleasure to spend time with you today.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad that the Chorus Board and all the keynote speakers are here. Now, we're going to do something different today
Excellent.
because there's a lot of work that we do every day. And as we do work every day, sometimes we have to take a little break and just stand up a little bit, get the blood flowing right now. So I got a little surprise for you today. We're going to teach you how to do salsa. Okay, so you haven't done salsa yet. This is a good step right now. There's no need for you to be a professional. As long as you're having fun, you know. So I'm just going to give you basic steps, okay, to do the salsa. One of the things that you want to do is keep your knees bent a little bit, okay? It's like if you're going skiing, this is the best way to go down the hill when your knees bend because you got better footage, better balance. Now, the other thing is, as a leader, I'm going to go forward with my left. We're going to take one little step forward right here. Okay, we're going to go right here, forward, and then we're going to get together, and then back with your right. And we got Carmen here to help us out a little bit here. All right, so again, so we're going to go forward with the left, one step forward, just a little bit, and then mark the step 2 in place, and 3 together. And back with the right, 1, mark the step on the forward, and 3 together. So basically what I'm breaking down is 3 step forward and 3 step back. But you can always think about going 1, it's an 8 count, okay? It's an 8 count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay? So what we're gonna do, the 4 and the 8 is gonna be a silence. It's gonna be a pause. So this is how it look like. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. You got it? So no, it's as long as you're having fun. That's the part. That's the important part. Okay. All right. So again, this is just as we work every day. We still need to stand up and get the blood flowing. So this is just a little thing you can do when you're taking a little break from sitting down on the desk. You're gonna go forward, 1, 2, 3, and back 2, 3. Forward with the left and back with your right. 1, 2, 3, and back 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. So again, I mean, it's very simple to do. So now we're gonna do this to music. So if we can have the music on right now, just to give you some rhythm, you know. So music is gonna be coming soon. You wanna participate right here? Come on, it's very simple. So as soon as we get the music going on in here, we're gonna do it to rhythm. So again, I mean, it's very simple. We're gonna go, it's an 8 count. So we got some rhythm now. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Forward with the left, back with your right. Forward with the left and back with your right. 1, 2, 3, back. 1, 2, 3, back 2, 3. Forward with the left, back with your right. So you can see right here, my knees still bend. Keep my knees bent, so I got better control. By doing that, when I move, my hips move by themselves, because every time I take a step, then you can see the hip moving. So I don't have to force the movement on my hip, because I keep my knees bent. 1, 2, 3. Huh? Keep going. All right, so when you get a partner, like Carmen right here, what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna go. She's gonna be a mirror image of what I do. When I go forward, you're gonna go back with your right. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, and forward with the left. There you go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Quick, slow. Quick, slow. Or 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. 5, 6, 7. So you can see right there, the basic step is going forward and back. Now, we can do the same thing by going side to side. So we're gonna do side to side. We're gonna start right there. We're gonna go to the left. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3 together, and to the right, 1, 2, 3 together. So you keep the feet in the same place. You're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Or just can go quick, slow. Quick, slow. Quick, slow. Quick, slow. When you're taking, every time you take a step, you want to change the weight. So that way, when you change the weight, then your leg will be free for the next step. So if I'm turning right here and I put the weight right here, this leg's gonna be free. So it's gonna be right here, the next one. Then I put together, I switch and back, switch, back, switch. Yeah, so that's basically how you can get your hip moving. There you go. So that's basically what it is. Now, as a partner, we can do a lot of different things, and we can get some more music a little bit louder, a little bit. If you can raise the volume there, we can get into a little movement as a couple. So let's try that. And we can go.
I knew you were going to do that. This is signature move right here. Hey, you didn't tell me you were doing that. So hopefully you're at your computer. You grab your phone.
So that's basically what I have there is the basic salsa step. So as long as you're having fun, the important thing is to have fun. No matter what you do, just have fun, smile, and don't make a front because people know what you did, make a mistake. But if you don't, you just keep smiling, people don't know what you're doing. And as long as you're moving, you get the blood going, your heart going, you get a little bit of, if you're sitting on the table for too long, it's not that good. So that way you have to stand up a little bit, take a little break, just a little step when you go to the kitchen and get something to drink and come back, or go to the bathroom. All right, so that's what I have so far. I think we are good on time, right?
So a part of that being with the Salsa lesson is understanding that VA does have whole health programs. So at your local VA medical centers, as veterans, you can always reach out to your whole health coaches, get in contact with your local VA, be a part of those programs that help you with getting movement, and really just adding that additional value. Something as simple as a salsa for about 3 to 5 minutes at a desk if you're working all the time sitting, or maybe if you just sit a lot because you have limited mobility. You can always move your arms, move your legs, but definitely get connected with that whole health coach at your local VA medical centers. They're available across the country, not just here in DC. We just only have William here in DC. So just go ahead and replay this YouTube live if you need the salsa lesson. Don't look at me, look at him. And get connected with those individuals and make sure that you are adding additional ways to improve your quality of life through VA benefits and services.
Well, thank you very much. I also want to add a couple things in here. In central office, we have a group called Veterans Affairs Hispanic Association. I happen to be the president today, so I welcome everyone that needs a VA employee that needs some connection with VA. We are able to help you out. So reach out to us. Our email address is VAHA@va.gov. That's VA Central Office, VA Veterans Affairs Hispanic Association at va.gov. So you can send us an email there. But now I'm going to pass it on now to the next thing we're going to be working on. After we talked about salsa, we have a special presentation, which is talking about Celia Cruz, that recently we got a coin for her, and I'm going to pass it on to Carmen, who's going to take the honors of doing the presentation for Celia Cruz. And give it a second here. We're trying to set up stuff in here.
Stronger than that. Our shoes got in the way. All right, good morning, everyone. I promise you that this particular segment will be a lot better than my salsa dancing. But first, I just want to thank you all for being here with us today, those of you who are online, those of you who are here in the room. I'm Carmen Drummond. I am the National Minority Veteran Program Manager and Hispanic Veteran Liaison here at the Center for Minority Veterans. I'm a proud, curly-haired Afro-Latina Army veteran with roots that hail from the beautiful island of Puerto Rico. Today, I'm going to talk to you briefly about legacy through storytelling and the journey of Celia Cruz, who was also a very impactful and unapologetic Afro-Latina. Do we have the slides? Yes. Next slide. Celia Cruz, like many of us in this room, started from humble and modest beginnings. She was a hard worker with a passion for music. We all have passions, right? Things that wake us up in the morning, that are reasons, our whys for why we do the things that we do, why we show up to work even though we know sometimes that person in the cubicle next to you keeps bringing that lunch that you just can't stand. It's the passion and the drive that gets you over those hard moments. How many of you have ever felt passion for your project, work, or hobby? And if you're online and you have the ability to contribute to the chat, please feel free to do that. Heart emojis are appropriate. If you want to drop your flag, please do that as well. We want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to share and engage with us during this presentation. All right. So how many of you have experienced sacrifice because of that passion? Whether it's sacrifice of having to take public transportation, or having to take 3 or 4 buses, or maybe having to leave a child behind to go on a deployment because you have signed up to defend your country. Celia experienced sacrifice. In the 1950s, she was exiled from her beloved country, Cuba. Born in 1925, Celia spent her childhood and early adulthood in her beloved country. Her love for music and extreme talent led her to become the lead vocalist for La Sonora, which was renowned in Cuba during that time. But also during that time, Cuba was experiencing political turmoil, and Celia refused to side with the revolution and went on with La Sonora to tour in Mexico. It resulted in her being exiled from her country. Now, while many of us have not been exiled or faced with this extreme consequence for following our dreams and passions, our callings, we understand what it means to have a love for country. And in that love for country, following our passions. We may have experienced this during our first deployments and having to leave family and loved ones behind. We may have experienced this transitioning out of the military or even leaving for the first time to go to boot camp. Next slide. Now, our stories are what build our legacy. Now, what we know about Celia is she used her influence to champion Afro-Latino heritage by fusing the African beats with Latin melodies. Over her illustrious 6-decade career, Celia crafted a music catalog boasting a discography of more than 70 albums, clinching 23 gold records, and garnering a multitude of accolades, including 3 Grammys and 4 Latin Grammy Awards. To add to her legacy, she is known for her commanding vocals, over-the-top style, and her famous signature expressions in many of her songs. So much so that I cannot ask for sugar in Spanish without saying azúcar, just like Celia. Next slide. Now, to capture her true essence, can we go back one slide, actually? To capture her true essence, I'm going to verbally transport you to her 2022 Grammy acceptance speech. It went a little something like this. And the winner is Celia Cruz. She comes up and she says, "Siéntate." Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I'm sorry, my English is not very good looking. And she continues on with her acceptance. I share this moment with you because it is something that is very special to me as an Afro-Latina that does not speak Spanish confidently. Now, when you hear me speak Spanish, you may say, I'm telling an untruth. But my lack of confidence in my ancestors' native tongue keeps me from communicating in Spanish. Now, I will start a conversation with someone who does speak Spanish because of our likeness and our cultural ethnicities. I always want to be respectful. But somewhere in there, very quickly, I will insert a line that goes a little something like, "Yo boricua, pero mi español is not very good looking." And that is mirrored after Celia's Grammy Award acceptance speech. This specific moment transports everyone in the conversation that's familiar to that Grammy moment for Celia, but breaks the ice for me without experiencing extreme shame for my lack of confidence in speaking Spanish. Next slide. Now remember, Celia was exiled from Cuba and died without ever returning to her birthplace. But there was something special that the men and women who served this country in the 90s at Guantanamo Bay provided to her. That was the opportunity to get to as close as Cuba as she would ever get. Now, if any of those service members, family members are here with us today, hopefully, you know, you're retired and utilizing your VA benefits and services. If not, go to va.gov and make sure you're navigating that very, very swiftly. Now, through their protection and their permission from the United States Navy, she collected soil from both sides of the fence so that she would always have a piece of her beloved land. Her love for country was so deep that she was buried with Cuban soil. How many of you have ever experienced love for your country in this way? Many of us have experienced this temporarily due to deployments or duty stations, ocones, and the care packages, the video calls, the embassy events, and camaraderie were all that many had to keep them connected to their home. While many service members returned to their homeland, many of our brothers and sisters did not. They left behind their memories, stories, and legacy so that they can continue to live on. Do you know that VA, National Cemetery Administration, has a Veterans Legacy Program? This effort not only commemorates our nation's veterans and service members through the discovery and sharing of their stories, but it also brings in the community by encouraging students and teachers around the country at university and K-12 levels to immerse themselves in rich historical resources found within VA's national and grant-funded cemeteries. Now, this was established back in 2016 on Memorial Day, and it was to fulfill our mission to memorialize veterans in perpetuity and to do that in innovative and engaging ways. Many Americans are unaware that NCA operates 155 national cemeteries, and there are more to be added. While we have discussed the likeness of Celia Cruz and our veterans through legacy, let's talk about lasting impact. Impact is something that is felt through an interaction, music, communication, and other countless ways. Celia not only impacted the world, but she gave our veterans, service members, and people who experienced her music the opportunity to be transported to moments in their lives. I want you to think about a song, maybe one of your favorite Celia songs, Frankie Ruiz, La India, one of those artists. And hopefully it helps you to remember waking up on a Saturday morning to the sound of quembara, or the smell of pine sol, or for some of our Gen Z and millennials, fabuloso. Hopefully that's where it takes you. Celia's sound and the sound of our cultural music could transform DFAC or Chow Hall, depending on your branch of service. It could transport that cup of coffee into a nostalgic cup of cafecito, transporting you back to Abuela's kitchen or the front stoop. For me, in the Army, good old Bravo 447 in Augusta, Georgia, it transported me back to a moment. So there's a Dominican, a Puerto Rican, and a Mexican. Sounds like the beginning of a very bad joke, doesn't it? Well, it's not. It's actually quite funny. We got together and we decided we were going to clean the room. And I probably shouldn't say we, they. We're going to say they because I cannot take responsibility for this. So we were cleaning the barracks, and we said, well, this is how we do it back home. This is how it works. And, we get on our hands and knees and we're scrubbing. Someone got the bright idea to use toilet bowl cleaner on the floor. This is what we do it back home. It works. My abuela does it. My titi does it. I do it. Fine. Well, everyone in the room is not up to date with this technique. So while the Dominican female, Puerto Rican female, Mexican female are all familiar with this and have taught the other individuals in the room, and they're working as well, we've realized that we just got ahead of ourselves and we let some of the toilet bowl cleaner dry on the floor. So with that, when it came to lights out, the floor glowed in the dark. And it was our shared likeness and how we cleaned that got us really excited about scrubbing this floor and getting it buffed so it was the cleanest floor, one that you could eat off of, but it also glowed in the dark. And it was our last week before we graduated, so we were just in shock. But it was that moment, that perspective, transporting us back to those days of cleaning and waking up to the sounds of salsa music in the morning or merengue, that really motivated us to do that. So hopefully you all got a little laugh out of our situation. Excuse me, our situation. Next slide. All right. Now, Celia's legacy and impact has landed her latest accomplishment of being featured on U.S. currency with her very own quarter as a part of the American Women's Quarter program. Next slide. This quarter symbolizes more than just currency. It embodies a moment in history that pays homage to Cruz's last influence on music, culture, and the Afro-Latin community. Listen, they done put a Latino on the quarter. Next stop is the White House. James for 2034 or something like that? I got you. Now, next slide. Let us celebrate the legacy of our fallen comrades and our loved ones as we continue to celebrate life, Hispanic, and Latino heritage. Now is the time where I ask you to search your favorite Celia video or your favorite salsa, merengue, bachata, whichever type of music, and utilize those skills that William just taught you to get a little whole health break. And for one last time, I will end this by saying, azúcar! Enjoy the rest of the program.
All right, well, that was a very inspiring story. I really love it. Almost brought me to tears when I heard that. So thank you very much for bringing all the memories in there. Next, I want to introduce Jerry Goodwin. From the Small Business Administration, Goodwin serves as a veteran business specialist at the SBA, Office of Veteran Business Development. With 20 years of experience as an entrepreneur, he was being instrumental in building entrepreneurship ecosystems and driving economy development. Fluent in Spanish, Goodwin holds an MBA and is Fulbright Scholar. He has previously led venture-funded tech startups achieving successful exits. In addition to this entrepreneurial achievement, Goodwin has served in the U.S. Army as an aviation officer and helicopter pilot, and he's a veteran of Operation Iraqi Freedom. His combat awards include the Bronze Star, Purple Heart, and Air Medal. Godwin earns a BS at Aeronautical Science from the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and has completed graduate programs at the University of Maryland Smith School of Business and the Harvard University Kennedy School of Government. Jerry, the floor is yours.
Very well, thank you. Salsa dancing as part of the wellness program. I love it. I'm going to talk to the SBA about incorporating salsa dancing as part of the wellness program. Thank you very much. So I'm walking out with something today, at least that. So thank you for the invitation to speak today, inviting the SBA. My Latino background is from Honduras, and I grew up in central Honduras on a 40-hectare coffee farm, which is still a part of the family. So my brother and I had lots of chores before school, after school, weekends, vacations, and so forth. So it was part of my upbringing before moving to the United States. As far as slides, can we start the presentation? Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm with the U.S. Small Business Administration. I started working there in federal service about 7, 8 years ago. As you mentioned, I have a tech background as an entrepreneur. My friend said, "Jerry, what happened to you? Why are you in federal service? Have you given up?" I said, "Are you crazy?" I'm working at a job at an agency that involves two of my favorite issues that I'm very passionate about, and that's veterans issues and entrepreneurship in one job. I said, I am in heaven. I just said, nothing happened to me. I'm on the right path. So I'm very happy to be in federal service and with the SBA, Office of Veterans Business Development. Next slide. So I'm going to, with the time we have, go over some of the things, some data about entrepreneurs and Hispanic entrepreneurs as well, and the impact. Again, thanks for the invitation today. Next slide, please. So, I'm not sure I can see that, but I also have it here. But basically, we've, Hispanic businesses, there's more Hispanic entrepreneurs in the Hispanic community we have more propensity to start businesses and have and go into business, right? Because when you think about it, as immigrants, the analogy I use is we are individual startups, right? We have to use whatever resources we have. When we first come to this country, I immigrated at 17, and use our resources or whatever talents I got through college on a soccer scholarship. I did inventory and grades because I grew up with a Latino mom, and there was no room for B's. I got a B minus, I think, in chemistry once, and it was like someone died for 3 days in the house. So the analogy I use is that as individuals, as Latino immigrants, we are also startups. So I think that's part of the reason. And as veterans coming out of the armed forces, right, when we think we're going to step off that abyss into civilian life again, right, because that's how I felt a little bit, we're also startups because we have to use our talents, we have to be resourceful and persevere. So I think that's why, one of the reasons why, as Hispanic immigrants, we're very good at in entrepreneurship. My vision isn't, even though I've had very good vision, I'm going to use my phone to just make sure I can see the right, but basically some of the some of the data is that Hispanic businesses contribute more than $100 billion in annual payroll into the U.S. economy, and contribute more than $800 billion to the American economy annually, and that grows in all 50 states and territories. So that grows every year. We do have some Hispanic veteran business owners. We do have some challenges when it comes to access to capital, because as we all know, and I've talked to Hispanic veterans before in previous lives before the SBA about access to capital, loans. Well, for a lot of first-generation immigrants, what we remember is from our parents and grandparents, it's actually a thing of honor not to owe anybody any money, right? Here in the U.S., the more lines of credit you have, the more status you have, right? So there's a little bit of that challenge sometimes, especially in the D.C. area and other areas of the country where there are more recently arrived immigrants. But yeah, there are some there are some challenges with the access to capital. Oops. Yes, please. Okay, outstanding. So, as stated, we have some challenges with access to capital. So, what are we doing? What is the SBA and the Office of Veterans Business Development doing to help alleviate that and provide tools? So, the Office of Veterans Business Development is rather new within the SBA, right? And just one quick fact is that the SBA was started by President Eisenhower in 1953. So if you look at 1953 and what was going on in American history, right, just after World War II in Korea, I can't help but think that President Eisenhower, when he was thinking about starting the SBA, had veterans in mind, right? That and part of that greatest generation. And President Eisenhower, his presidential term began in 1953. So this was a priority for him. I mean, I didn't read that somewhere, but if you just sort of piece things together a little bit, I think this was a high priority for him. I'm gonna need help again, I'm so sorry. I think I can take it from here. We're resourceful and we're improvising. So, so basically, some of the challenges, about 27% of Hispanic business owner that applied for funding were turned down, compared to 14% to the other demographic sectors. Basically, 34% are bootstrapped with help of family funds and so forth. And that, of course, that can be an issue, right? So there's still an informal economy in the Hispanic business community, right? If you don't believe me, go here to just up the street here to Mount Pleasant and just walk around a little bit. So what is the SBA doing? So as part of our program, we have veteran business outreach centers throughout the country. We have 31. We recently expanded from 28 to 31. So these are brick and mortar business technical assistance locations that we partner with resource partners across the country. So we just expanded 28, 3 more to include one in Puerto Rico for the veterans there. And so, and that one also addresses veterans in the Virgin Islands. So rough duty. When can I go TDY to that one, right? But so one of our flagship entrepreneurial training programs is the Boots to Business, B2B, Boots to Business. It's an intensive 2-day program that veterans take now as part of the transition assistance. So when you're ETSing out of the armed forces, you don't just get released back into the wild as before, right? You just were sent home basically with a bus pass or an airplane ticket. Basically, you go through the transition centers, and you're there about a week, and so you're taking classes on your veterans benefits, employment, college benefits, and entrepreneurship. So that's part of the transition assistance. So then we also launch Boots to Business Reboot for veterans of all eras. So you can have gotten or separated from the armed forces 2 years ago or 20 years ago, right? And you can take this class as well. VBOX, the Veteran Business Outreach Centers, teach these classes at bases, even overseas. We've actually taught Boots to Business classes on Navy ships, flown instructors in and so forth. So that's one of our flagship programs. We just last year we changed the language to include military spouses eligible for the Boots to Business and other resources from OVBD and the SBA. So we're very we're pretty enthused about that, and that's called Pathway to Business. It's basically the same curriculum, but tailored for military spouses. So we have a follow-on course, Revenue Readiness. It's an online taught by Mississippi State, as they say, Mississippi State. So that's online, 6 weeks, focuses on the business model canvas, lean startup, and so forth. These are all free resources. Next slide, please. Here's some charts. We've trained over almost 214,000 veterans or transitioning service members and veterans in Boots to Business. And this year we started training military spouses as well. So we're pretty psyched about these numbers. Next slide, please. And then those bar charts is Army, Air Force, the services. This is by age, rank, and so forth. But the bar chart at the bottom is basically 15,000, almost 15,500 of those were Hispanic service members and veterans. So someone who was in the Navy or the Air Force who's smarter than an Army guy who can help me do public math, that's about 30%. That's a good percentage, right? That's a significant percentage from the 200,000. So we're pretty enthused about that. We also have entrepreneurship training programs. These are more when we compete these on a national basis. So when we compete these, we throw a pretty broad net, because what we're looking for is different and interesting service delivery models. They don't have to be classroom training, for example. They can be different things. For example, and we have 3 tracks. We have the Service Disabled Veteran Entrepreneurship Training Program, and we have 4 resource partners. Veterans Entrepreneurship Resource Network up in the Boston area. We have Oklahoma State and St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia. Both of those have a similar model where they have a 3-phase training. The first phase is online. Phase 2 is presential, and phase 3 is mentorship for 6 months after the graduation or completion. And then we have Warrior Rising out in Utah. So these are more geographic in nature. Next slide. So we've trained over 7,500 veterans and military spouses now under those programs. Under the Women Veterans Entrepreneurship Training Program, we have Salt Lake Community College. We have Syracuse University Institute for Veterans and Military Families within Syracuse. And what they do is they organize 2 national conferences a year for women veteran entrepreneurs. Salt Lake is the next one. It just coincidentally is in Salt Lake City. And then we have the Oklahoma Native American Business Entrepreneurial Network, working with the First Nations, women veterans within the First Nations. And they've been able to grow the footprint with the help of the SBA and access to capital as well. I was out there, I did a site visit in March, and it's very enthused to be working with the First Nations, with women veterans in the First Nations. Next slide, please. We'll come back to this one. Next slide, please. Okay, and then the last one under the entrepreneurship training program is the Veterans Federal Procurement Entrepreneurship Training, which is our only program which is industry specific for federal procurement. So the goal, federal contracting for service disabled veteran owned businesses was at 3% for several years. It just got raised to 5%. So we're very enthused about that. The Veterans Institute of Procurement, which is under the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce Foundation here locally has this phenomenal program. It's with 3 tracks: Start, Grow, and International, that trains veteran entrepreneurs to be better prepared for federal procurement, with phenomenal results. VIP is very well, it's taught by program managers, contracting officers, and that's why it's in this area. So each cohort is about 50, average of 50. They're, it's free 3 days, room and board is provided, you just have to get yourself there. Just with phenomenal program results. So we've trained over 2,200 veteran-owned companies under this program. One slide back, please. So this is our footprint for the SBA Office of Veterans Business Development. So we have 41 resource partners, and we've done all this in a hot 7 years, 8 years. We've been very motivated, and we've received a lot of support within the agency to start up and ramp up and scale our office. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And then here's the SBA has loan programs. We have microloans. We work with microlenders all over the country. And also the SBA guarantees loans as well. 70 to 80% of the loan value, we work with the banking community to de-risk their loan portfolio, right? In case there's a default, they recover 70, 80% of their loan. And then it gives the banks more confidence in providing those loans. And then we have recently a line of credit loan program was expanded. As an entrepreneur, that was one of my most valuable assets, was to have that line of credit. Next slide, please. And that's with the time allotted, sba.gov/OVBD for the Office of Veterans Business Development. So thank you very much for your invitation today and for organizing this phenomenal event. Thank you.
All right, so at this time I'm going to bring Carmen with me. Carmen. We're going to do something that we did in LULAC. For those of you who were able to attend LULAC, we were there, and we provided the White Ribbon Pledge. And I guess to close the program today, we invite you to join us taking the White Ribbon Pledge in both English and Spanish, so you can practice your Spanish, to show our commitment to ending violence against women.
White Ribbon VA is a national call to action to eliminate sexual harassment, sexual assault, and domestic violence across the Department of Veterans Affairs. By promoting a positive change in culture, we take actions as outlined in the pledge so that we can become more aware and create an organizational norm. White Ribbon VA is an awareness movement where all, regardless of their gender, can participate.
El compromiso del Lazo Blanco es un llamado nacional a la acción destinada a eliminar el acoso sexual, la agresión sexual y la violencia doméstica en todo el Departamento de Asuntos de Veteranos. Esta iniciativa promueve un cambio positivo en la cultura dentro del Departamento de Veteranos, asegurando que el respeto y la seguridad se convierta en la norma organizacional.
White Ribbon VA was inspired by the White Ribbon Organization, which is the world's largest movement of men and boys working to end violence against women and girls, and to promote gender equity and healthy relationships. Since 1991, the White Ribbon Campaign has spread to over 60 countries around the world, including college campuses, military installations, and a number of states across our country. White Ribbon USA is the National Association of Social Workers has partnered with VA to promote White Ribbon VA that was stood up under the Stop Harassment Now campaign. It's a shared goal of taking an active stand in ending sexual harassment, sexual assault, and domestic violence. At this time, we invite you to join us in making a pledge to stop violence against others and to symbolically wear the white ribbon. The pledge will be given in Spanish first by William, followed by English by me. Please rise or raise your hands to the best of your ability.
Ahora invito a todos a unirse a nosotros para hacer esta importante promesa. Por favor, repitan después de mí. Yo, su nombre, William
Yo,
Vargas,
Carmen,
me comprometo
me comprometo
a nunca cometer,
a nunca cometer,
excusar
excusar
o guardar silencio
o guardar silencio
sobre el acoso sexual,
sobre el caso sexual,
la agresión sexual
la agresión sexual,
o la violencia doméstica contra otros.
a la violencia doméstica.
Ahora todos ustedes son campeones del lazo blanco. Los lazos blancos están disponibles al final del evento. Por favor, únanse simbólicamente su proyecto y reconocimiento. Carmen.
Now, I invite you to join us in making this important pledge in English. Please repeat after me. I, your name,
William.
Carmen Drummond, pledge to never commit, excuse, or stay silent about sexual harassment, sexual assault,
Sexual assault
or domestic violence against others.
or domestic violence against others.
You are now all white ribbon champions. White ribbons will be made available to you. Please wear your white ribbons as a symbol of support and acknowledgement.
Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Let's continue to celebrate our heritage and support each other. A wonderful rest of the day. And at this time, I would like to bring Dr. Senor James Albino to deliver closing remarks. And thanks for the speaking audience over here.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for taking some time out from your very busy schedule. Again, for those of you on the West Coast, I know that it was a little early for you, so I appreciate that you were able to join us. I want to thank my CMB team for putting this together and helping us communicate the importance of our commitment to the Hispanic veteran community. I want to thank all the speakers, Chairman Jaime Areizaga, who's a friend of mine I've known for very many years, and the gentleman from the SBA. Thank you for joining us there. I want to point out that we will have 2 more events during the Hispanic Heritage Month later on in the month. So please be on the lookout for that information. And again, I want to thank you for joining us. Thank you.